My wife insisted I babysit her 3 kids from her past marriage every weekend while she partied. I refused. She said step up or get out. So I walked out. And then everything fell apart. My wife, Olivia, looked me dead in the eye and said, step up or get out. I never thought those 5 words would end my marriage, but they did, and not in the way she ever imagined. The air in our bedroom suddenly felt thick, heavy with unspoken expectations. I was tired, absolutely drained from a brutal week, and all I wanted was a moment of peace. See, I never pictured myself walking away from a marriage. But being a step-parent? It's a whole different game. You can do everything right, pour your heart into it, and still somehow become the villain in someone else's story. I was 29, working a crazy 50-hour week in logistics management, and I'd saved like mad through my 20s to own my house outright. When I met Olivia at 27, she was 29 with 3 kids from a previous marriage, Mason, 12, Logan, 10, and Ethan, 8, at the time. Everyone in my life, especially my mom, thought I was absolutely nuts. But Olivia seemed like she had it together. The kids were fine. A little wild, but manageable. Their biological father, Michael, paid child support like clockwork, though he was rarely around. Olivia had a solid job in a medical office, and we always split our dates. She never pushed me into being dad. That was huge for me. I liked the kids, they could be sweet, but I wasn't looking to replace anyone. We dated for about a year, and it all felt so natural. Easy. We had a small wedding, just close family and friends. For the first 6 months, our marriage was everything I'd hoped for. I helped when I could, we had family dinners, and weekends were a mix. Sometimes the kids stayed, sometimes they had activities or sleepovers. We'd go to the zoo, catch a movie. It felt balanced, like a real partnership. Then, something shifted. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but it started small, almost imperceptibly. Olivia asked if I could watch the kids one Saturday morning for her yoga class nearby. No problem, I said. Then it became yoga and brunch with her friends. Okay, she needs social time, I get it. But soon, it was every Saturday. Then Saturdays and Sunday mornings. Before I knew it, I was spending entire weekends with 3 kids who weren't mine, while Olivia was out rediscovering herself. Here's the brutal truth about stepkids that nobody mentions: if their biological parent doesn't set rules, you literally can't either without becoming the villain. Olivia's gentle parenting meant 0 consequences for anything. Mason, now 14, would rifle through my stuff without asking and break things. Just last month, he snapped my expensive torque wrench trying to fix his bike. When I asked Olivia to talk to him about respecting property, she brushed it off. Boys will be boys. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Logan, 12, talked back constantly and wouldn't do basic chores. I asked him to clear his dishes, and he stared right at me. You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you. Olivia just laughed it off. Ethan, the youngest, 10, was genuinely sweet, and I actually liked him. But he made incredible messes everywhere because no one had ever taught him to clean up. Any boundary I tried to set, Olivia would swoop in, telling me I was too harsh or too strict. Yet, if they acted up on my watch, if they broke something or fought, it was suddenly my fault for not controlling them. The double standard was absolutely infuriating. My job is genuinely brutal. I'm in logistics, an industry that never sleeps. I spend 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., sometimes later, on calls with screaming clients, freight carriers, and warehouse managers, constantly putting out fires. It's nonstop problem-solving, decision-making, and dealing with angry people who want answers I don't always have. My weekends were my only sanctuary, my only chance to decompress, to just exist as a human being without someone needing something from me every 5 minutes. But now, every Friday night, Olivia had this look of expectation. Every Saturday morning, she was out the door with her yoga mat before I even woke up, and I'd already hear the kids fighting downstairs. I started feeling less like a husband and more like a live-in babysitter who also happened to cover most of the bills. This house. It was mine before we ever met. I bought it at 25, spent years fixing it up, painting every room, making it exactly what I wanted. Olivia and the kids moved in after the wedding. I never made a big deal about it being my house, felt petty. But the reality was, I was covering the mortgage, all utilities, most groceries, all repairs. She paid for her car and some of the kids' activities. Financially, it was probably 70/30ths, and I was fine with that because I earned more. But I wasn't fine with being free childcare on top of being the primary breadwinner. Around month 8, I tried to have a calm, rational talk. I told her I needed more balance, that I couldn't be the default weekend parent when I wasn't their legal father. She didn't yell at first. Just got really quiet. "You knew what you were signing up for," she said. "Yes," I replied. "I signed up to be your husband and a supportive step-parent, not a full-time babysitter." That's when she started crying. Said I was rejecting her children, that a real man steps up without being asked, that David was a deadbeat and she thought I was different. I felt like absolute garbage. So, I backed off. Kept watching the kids, no complaints. But then it somehow got worse. She started going out on Friday nights too, not just weekends. Girls' nights, wine tastings, concerts. She was out living her best life. I was home making boxed mac and cheese, breaking up screaming matches over video games. Her friends would post pictures online, Olivia, dancing, laughing, looking happier than I'd seen her in months of actual marriage. One night, she stumbled home at midnight, smelling like alcohol and perfume. I was passed out on the couch with Ethan asleep on my lap. He'd had a nightmare. She didn't even ask how the night went. Just went upstairs to bed. I was left in the living room at 2 a.m., carrying a sleeping 10-year-old back to his room, wondering how this had become my life. Michael, the biological father, was basically a ghost. He paid his court-ordered support, I'll give him that. But he'd see the kids maybe once a month, if that, always canceling last minute. Olivia complained about him constantly, called him unreliable, selfish. But she never actually pushed him to be more involved. It was just easier to rely on me instead. 3 weeks ago, it all came crashing down. It was a Friday night. I'd just walked in from a brutal week at work, everything that could go wrong, did. All I wanted was to sleep in on Saturday, do absolutely nothing productive. Olivia came into the bedroom as I was changing. "We need to talk," she said, serious. She sat on the bed's edge. Starting this weekend, she announced, she needed me to take the kids every single Saturday and Sunday. All day. Both days. Every weekend. From now on. She'd lost herself in motherhood and marriage and desperately needed to remember who she was. I just stared at her, dumbfounded. What about my time? My mental health? My sanity? "This is what being a real family means," she said. "Sacrifices have to be made." "No," I said. Just like that. A simple, clear no. She blinked, like I'd slapped her. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean, no. I'm not doing that. I need my weekends too. We need a different solution, one that works for both of us." Her entire face changed. Instantly. She stood, her voice ice cold in a way I'd never heard. "Step up or get out." Word for word. "No, let's talk. No, let's compromise. No, let's figure this out as partners." A straight ultimatum. Step up or get out. I looked at her, arms crossed, waiting for me to cave, to apologize, like I always did. But something inside me just snapped. I walked to my closet, pulled down my old duffel bag. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I started packing clothes, enough for a week. You're being dramatic and childish, she spat. I packed my toothbrush, phone charger, laptop, work clothes. She followed me room to room, yelling that I was throwing a tantrum like her kids, that I'd cool off overnight and come crawling back. I loaded everything into my car. She stood in the driveway, actually screaming, "You're abandoning us. You're just like David." I got in my car, backed out of my own driveway, and drove straight to my brother Ryan's apartment across town. My phone started blowing up before I even hit the highway, texts, calls, voicemails, every few seconds. I flipped it to silent and just kept driving into the night. I barely slept that first night at Ryan's. My phone was going absolutely ballistic, texts, calls, voicemails every few minutes. Around 2 a.m., unable to sleep, I finally looked. Exactly what you'd expect. First, angry messages calling me immature, selfish, abandoning my family. Then, they shifted to sad, saying she didn't mean it, we needed to talk. Then, angry again, saying I never loved her kids. Then Chloe, her sister, started texting. Her mom called 3 times. I just turned my phone completely off. Ryan, my brother, was incredible. He made up the couch, gave me blankets, didn't ask questions. The next morning, over coffee, he just said I could stay as long as I needed, adding he always thought Olivia expected too much from me. That first week felt surreal, like an alternate reality. I went to work, came back to Ryan's, watched my phone light up with messages I didn't answer. Olivia's texts grew more desperate, swinging between begging me to come home and calling me every name imaginable. Her friends started chiming in, people I thought were my friends, telling me I was wrong. Chloe even showed up at my workplace on Wednesday, totally out of line, creating a scene in the parking lot, screaming about those kids. I told her the kids had a father, and it wasn't me. She called me a heartless bastard. By the end of week 1, a mutual friend told me Olivia had hired a babysitter for the weekends. Good, I thought. That's what she should have done from the start, instead of just volunteering me. I figured maybe this would all blow over, we'd get a quiet divorce, and I could move on. I was wrong. Week 2. That's when things really unraveled for her. The babysitter quit. I found out from a voicemail Olivia left, screaming about how the babysitter said her kids were out of control and she couldn't handle them. Olivia, of course, somehow blamed me. Said if I'd been there to help establish routines, this never would have happened. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. She tried to get her mom to come help, but her mom lived 3 states away in Texas and had her own life. Her mom, I later heard through Chloe, apparently told Olivia she made her bed, now she had to lie in it. Even her own mother wasn't dropping everything to fix Olivia's problem. Then Olivia's work situation started imploding. She'd been barely getting by at her medical billing job. But now, without me covering mornings and evenings, she was constantly late. The kids' school would call because someone forgot lunch or had a meltdown, forcing Olivia to leave work. Her boss was understanding at first, but that only lasts so long when someone's missing half-days multiple times a week. My friend Emily, who works in the same business park, said Olivia looked absolutely exhausted every time she saw her, dark circles, messy bun, coffee stains on her scrubs. Turns out, trying to do everything alone is actually hard. Who knew? By week 3, Olivia tried a different tactic. The angry texts stopped. Suddenly, everything was apologetic, promises of change. Long messages detailing how she'd taken me for granted, how she understood now, how if I came back, things would be completely different. She'd hire help, make sure I had my weekends, be a better partner. A tiny, stupid part of me almost considered it. Then I remembered her, standing in our bedroom, saying step up or get out like I was an employee. I knew nothing would change. She'd promise anything, then things would slowly slide right back. I texted her back for the first time in 3 weeks. I've contacted a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. Her response was nuclear. 17 calls in a row. She showed up at Ryan's apartment building, but security wouldn't let her up. Paragraphs about how I was destroying our family, how could I give up so easily, how she never thought I was the type of man to run away. I didn't respond. My lawyer, Eleanor, an older woman who'd handled my buddy's divorce, just nodded through my entire story. Have you legally adopted the kids? No. Is your name on any school or insurance paperwork? No, all under Olivia and David. The house? I showed her the deed, only my name, dated 3 years before I even met Olivia. Eleanor smiled. This will be straightforward. Week 4. Olivia lost her job. I found out from a crying voicemail at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. It was all my fault, she sobbed. If I hadn't left, she wouldn't have been late so many times. I'd ruined her life. Hysterical. Barely coherent. Part of me felt bad for about 30 seconds. Then I remembered, none of this would have happened if she'd treated me like a partner, not free help. She tried to guilt-trip me, claiming she couldn't afford the mortgage, they'd be homeless. I didn't reply, but I texted Eleanor, who told me not to worry, we'd handle it through the courts. Olivia's family ramped up their involvement. Her dad called me, which was wild since I'd met him maybe 5 times. He did the whole stern father routine about being a man and taking responsibility. I calmly told him his daughter gave me an ultimatum, and I chose the door. And that his grandchildren had a biological father who needed to step up. He didn't like that. Said some things about my character I won't repeat. I hung up. The craziest part? About 5 weeks after I left, Chloe showed up at Ryan's building again, but this time with all 3 kids. Security called me. I went down to the lobby. She stood there with these 3 tired-looking children, and literally said I needed to take them for the weekend because Olivia was having a breakdown. I just stared at her, thinking she'd lost her mind. We're not together anymore. I'm not their stepfather. This isn't my responsibility. The kids looked confused and uncomfortable. I felt awful for them. But I knew, deep down, if I took them, even once, it would never stop. Chloe started yelling, right there in the lobby, "What kind of man turns his back on children? You're selfish. Cruel." Mason, the 14-year-old, told her they should just go, they didn't want to stay with me anyway. That stung more than I expected, but I didn't let it show. I told Chloe to leave or I'd call the police for harassment. She grabbed the kids and left, but not before swearing I'd regret this. That same week, Olivia sent one last message that showed she still understood nothing. All I wanted was a partner who would actually help me. This from the woman at wine bars 3 nights a week while I made dinner for kids who weren't mine. She couldn't believe I was doing this to her, that she'd given me everything, that she thought I was different. She said all she'd wanted was a partner, and apparently that was too much to ask. I finally responded. You didn't want a partner. You wanted a babysitter and a paycheck. Step up or get out were your words, not mine. I simply chose the option you gave me. I'm done being your solution to a problem you created. Then I blocked her number. Eleanor filed the divorce papers the very next day. The divorce took about 3 months total. Eleanor said that was incredibly fast. Olivia tried to drag it out, asking for extensions, claiming she needed to get her finances in order, but the judge wasn't having it. Our first court date was in early October, 2 months after I walked out. And that's when things got really interesting. Olivia showed up with her own lawyer, some fresh-faced guy who immediately went for the throat. He argued I'd taken on a parental role, acted as a father figure for nearly 2 years, and should pay child support. Eleanor just smiled, pulled out a thick folder. School records, medical records, insurance paperwork, all listed Michael, the biological father, not me. Eleanor calmly stated our marriage was less than 2 years, I'd never legally adopted, never even attempted a parental role beyond normal step-parent duties. The judge asked Olivia's lawyer for any evidence of adoption or legal parental responsibility. He had none. That argument died right there. Then her lawyer tried for spousal support, arguing Olivia had grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Eleanor pointed out the marriage's short duration, Olivia's own income throughout, and that her job loss was due to her own performance, not the divorce. The judge, looking tired, asked about Olivia's current employment. Her lawyer admitted she'd been let go but was actively looking. The judge made a note and moved on. The house was the big one. Olivia was truly fighting for it. Her lawyer claimed it was the family home, the kids shouldn't be displaced, she had nowhere else to go. Eleanor calmly presented the deed. I bought the house 3 full years before meeting Olivia. It was my sole property before marriage, and by state law, remained separate. She then pointed out Olivia and the kids had a place before they moved in, implying they could find one again. The judge asked Olivia directly where she lived previously. She admitted she'd rented a 3-bedroom apartment. The judge ruled the house was mine. Period. No dispute, no split. Just mine. I watched Olivia's face fall. I didn't feel victorious, just utterly drained. Then something happened I absolutely didn't see coming. Michael, the kid's biological father, showed up for the second court date. Nobody had told me. From Olivia's face, she hadn't expected it either. I'd met him twice in total, brief awkward exchanges. During pickups, he asked the judge if he could speak, and was allowed. Michael explained that during my marriage to Olivia, she consistently told him to back off, claiming I was stepping into the father role and he was confusing the children. She'd told him multiple times the kids didn't need him around as much because they had me now. Then Michael pulled out his phone and started reading texts. Here's one from May, please give us space, Michael. He's bonding with the boys. Another from July, they're calling him Dad now. You're confusing them by being around so much. All lies. He said he'd foolishly believed her, reducing his visits to almost nothing, just paying child support and staying away as she'd asked. But after Olivia and I separated, she suddenly started demanding he take the kids more, expecting him to cover every weekend. He'd realized she'd been playing both of us. The judge asked if Michael wanted to modify custody. Yes, he said. He wanted 50-50. He'd been kept from his own kids and wanted to make up for lost time. Olivia's lawyer immediately objected, but Michael's case was solid. He had documentation of everything, texts explicitly telling him to stay away, followed by recent texts demanding he take the kids constantly. The judge ordered a temporary custody modification. Michael got the kids every other week, instead of twice a month, pending a full custody hearing. Olivia looked like she was going to be sick. After that hearing, I ran into Michael in the courthouse parking lot. We talked for about 20 minutes, comparing notes on Olivia. Turns out she'd told him I was desperate to be a father figure and pushing him out. She'd told me he was a deadbeat. Both were lies. Michael seemed like a decent guy who genuinely tried to do what he thought was best based on what their mother told him. We shook hands. He thanked me for not trying to replace him. I told him those kids needed their actual dad, not some random guy their mom married. The final divorce decree came through in mid-December. I kept the house, all my personal property, my retirement accounts, everything that was mine before the marriage. Olivia got nothing except her car and personal belongings. No spousal support, no claim to my property. Nothing. The judge's ruling was clear. Our short marriage and her own choices led to her current situation. Eleanor told me it was one of the cleanest divorces she'd ever handled. 2 days after the divorce was final, I moved back into my house. It felt strange at first, like walking into a museum of my own life. Olivia had cleared out all her and the kids' things. The house felt empty in a way it never had before, but it also felt profoundly peaceful. I could leave my things where I wanted. I could spend Saturday morning doing absolutely nothing without a shred of guilt. I could come home from work and just exist in silence. It took me weeks to realize how much constant stress I'd been living with. About a month later, scrolling Facebook late one night, I saw Olivia had posted something public. I don't know why I clicked, morbid curiosity, maybe. It was this long post about how hard it was to be a single mother, how men didn't want to date women with kids, how good men were impossible to find, how she thought she found one but he'd abandoned her family when things got hard. The comments were full of her friends agreeing, saying she deserved better, that men were trash. A few people who knew both of us commented more balanced things, but she deleted those. I sat there, reading, and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no guilt, no satisfaction. Just nothing. I screenshotted it, sent it to Ryan with a laughing emoji, then blocked Olivia on every social media platform. Ryan texted back, "You dodged a massive bullet. Mom's proud of you for standing up for yourself." I made myself a sandwich, cracked a beer, and watched a movie I'd wanted to see for months. The next morning, I woke up at 10:30 a.m., feeling utterly luxurious. Made coffee, sat on my back porch, listening to the birds. No one needed anything from me. No one was fighting in the next room. No one was going through my stuff, making demands, or giving ultimatums. I got my life back. A few months later, mutual friends told me Olivia moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town, working 2 part-time jobs. Michael had finalized his 50-50 custody, so she only had the kids half the time. She'd apparently tried dating, but it wasn't going well. One friend even asked if I was seeing anyone, if I ever talked about her. I said I didn't think about her at all anymore, which, honestly, was mostly true. Sometimes I still think about that night, about her ultimatum, step up or get out. She meant it as a power move, a way to force me into the role she decided I should play. But ultimatums are funny things. Sometimes, the person you're trying to control calls your bluff, and then you're stuck living with consequences you never actually wanted. Olivia thought I'd cave because I always had. She thought I needed her more than she needed me. She was wrong on both counts. I'm 30 now, still in my house, still at my job, still enjoying my quiet weekends. I learned an important lesson: when someone shows you who they really are, when they lay out the terms of how they see you and what they expect, believe them. If those terms aren't acceptable, walk away. No amount of history, hope, or guilt is worth being a supporting character in someone else's story. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is choose the door and never look back. That's exactly what I did, and I haven't regretted it for a single second. What do you think about this story?